Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to talk about my top 25 roller coasters. I rode 333 coasters in total and 216 of them, which is 1/3 in 2022. From June 2021 to July 2022, I lived in the US for a year abroad, and at the end of my year I was on a 4-week coaster tour in Orlando and along the East Coast. So, I rode a lot of coasters in the US, and only 5 coasters made it into my ranking that I rode before 2022. Okay, just a few informations, but now we're gonna see what my ranking looks like. Number 25. iSpeed at Mirabilandia in Italy. A solid LSM launch coaster from Intamin, which accelerates from 0 to 100 in 2.2 seconds. Then, we climb up the 180.4 feet top head, followed by a diverse and fun layout. It includes whippy turns, a corkscrew, and an inline twist. The train passes through these elements pretty fast, and this makes the ride pretty intense. I really like iSpeed because it's just so much fun and an amazing coaster. Number 24. Montu at Busch Gardens, Tampa in Florida. You get a really long and smooth inverted coaster, which has 7 inversions. After the 128 feet drop, the ride continues with a 104 feet tall loop, followed by an Immelman, zero-G roll, and Batwing. Even though the coaster has a mid-course brake run, it doesn't get boring, and on this ride it doesn't bother me at all. Because it doesn't slow you down that much, and you also kind of have a second job, it has enough speed to go through another loop and a corkscrew before you get to the final brake run. Montu is impressively big, fast, intense, and just a power machine that positively surprised me. Number 23. Stormrunner at Hersheypark in Pennsylvania. An Intamin accelerator coaster with probably the most intense launch I know. From 0 to 75 miles per hour in 2 seconds, and this acceleration is really strong. Stormrunner is not the longest coaster out there, but it still offers a lot. So, after the launch, the train travels up the 150 feet top head just to drop 180 feet and to go through a cobra loop afterwards. Then comes a hardline roll and a really unique element, which is called flying snake dive. There are a few more bang turns and airtime moments before you end up in the brake run and the super intense experience ends. Number 22. Expedition G-Force at Holiday Park in Hasloch, Germany. A really good mega coaster manufactured by Intamin, which is known for its awesome drop and airtime. You drop 174 feet at an 82-degree angle, but you don't just drop, you get ejected out of your seat and pulled to the ground. At high speed, you'll go over a big floater airtime hill, followed by an overbank curve, high-speed turns, some more airtime hills, and at the end, some really good and intense bunny hops. It is a nice mixture of high speed and airtime. Number 21. Banshee at Kings Island in Ohio. Banshee is my number 1 inverted coaster, and I never thought that an invert is gonna make it that high in my overall ranking. But with Banshee being really smooth and having an awesome layout, it made it to be my number 21. This B&M coaster starts with a 150 feet drop, followed by a dive loop and a classic loop. It goes on with a 0-G roll, a pretzel knot, another loop, and my favorite element of the ride, an inline twist, which the train passes pretty slow, so it gets really intense. From beginning to end, Banshee is smooth, intense, and super exciting. Number 20. Nitro at Six Flags Great Adventure, New Jersey. A coaster at my US home park, which I have quickly taken to my heart. This B&M hybrid coaster has strong negative, but also positive Gs, and in the summertime, I was close to blacking out in the helix. From a height of 230 feet, you drop 215 feet at a 68-degree angle towards the ground, and that's when you reach the top speed of 80 miles per hour. The rest of the layout consists of airtime hills, a hammerhead turn, an intense 540-degree helix, and some nice camelbacks. Nitro is so much fun, like you just want to ride it over and over again, and it's just an amazing coaster. Number 19. Der Schwur des Kärnan at Hansa Park in Sierksdorf, Germany. Gerstlauer manufactured this infinity coaster, and the theming throughout the queue and also what happens in the tower is unique, but I'm not gonna spoiler. Another highlight is the 99-degree steep drop and the following element, because from up there you can see the sea. Afterwards, the layout becomes a little weaker except the hardline roll at the end. Story and theming completes everything and makes it to a successful overall experience. Number 18. Maverick at Cedar Point in Ohio. The LSM launch coaster from Intamin can convince with a very fast and aggressive driven layout. Maverick is very intense and starts with kind of a slow launch into a 95-degree drop. It continues with whippy turns, airtime, and a twisted horseshoe roll. In a small tunnel, the train stops and then comes another launch, and with its new power, you're going through some more whippy turns, airtime hills, and overbank curves. Maverick is extremely whippy, intense, and also aggressive, which I really like. Number 17. Jersey Devil Coaster at Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey. I rode this coaster in 2021, and it was not only my 100th credit, but also my first ever RMC. JDC is a single rail coaster and super fun. A perfect mixture out of airtime, an amazing drop, and inversions consisting of a dive loop, 0G stall, and 0G roll. This coaster means a lot to me because I rode it a bunch of times and met some of my best friends in the queue and station. Number 16. X2 at Six Flags Magic Mountain in California. X2 is super sick and special. It is a fourth dimension coaster by Aerodynamics and the experience is unique. The ride begins with a small pre-drop before dropping down the big drop facing the ground because the cars are spinning. Throughout the track, you can find two Raven turns, an inside plus, an outside fly to lie, and a lie to fly element. Like I've said, the cars are spinning and flipping. The feeling of riding X2 is really hard to describe because you spin in every direction possible and can't see what's coming next. After riding it for the first time, I was speechless and couldn't believe what I just experienced. Number 15. Phoenix at Knoebels Amusement Resort in Pennsylvania. I was really excited for this Woody manufactured by PTC and didn't get disappointed at all. Because of simple bus bars, you feel pretty free while riding it and also fly out of your seat when having airtime. Phoenix leaves the station and starts with a long dark tunnel before climbing up the 78 feet lift hill. While dropping 72 feet, you reach the top speed of 45 miles per hour. The rest of the ride is dominated by airtime and a lot of fun. I flew through the air more than I touched the seat. Quite simply an airtime machine with some of the best airtime moments I've ever experienced. Number 14. Pantheon at Busch Gardens Williamsburg in Virginia. A pretty new Intamin LSM launch coaster. The ride begins with a small launch into a 0G winder and a big portion of hang time. Then comes the triple launch track including an airtime bump which ejects you out of your seat. More cool elements are following, like the top hat, a big outward banked airtime hill, and a 0G stall. This coaster would be higher in my ranking if it would be a little longer, but overall Pantheon is diverse and a good coaster. Number 13. Kondaa at Walibi, Belgium in Belgium. Another coaster from Intamin, and in this case a mega coaster. Its 164 feet drop is intense and has really strong airtime. Kondaa has incredible 15 airtime moments, so the focus is definitely set. Besides airtime, there's also a non-inverted cobra roll, which is sadly a little dead spot for me. But since the rest is really good, a well-deserved number 13. Number 12. Twisted Timbers at Kings Dominion, Virginia. An RMC iBox track with one of the coolest train designs because they are themed like old cars. The 109 feet barrel roll down drop is a kind of a drop I really like and you get some good hang time. After that, you go over a speed hill into an overbank curve and after a few airtime hills into a cutback and some more airtime moments. The third and last inversion is a 0G roll and before ending in the final brake run you experience some more airtime because we all know RMC loves good airtime. An amazing coaster, but I don't know what it is, but I'm missing something. Number 11. FLY at Phantasialand in Germany. This V-Komma flying launch coaster is located in the Ruckberg themed area, and when I first walked into Ruckberg, I was absolutely speechless. Everything is themed down to the last detail, and then there's FLY. The experience already starts in the queue because you get really close to the track. You get to the beautifully themed station, board the train, and the ride starts with a dark ride part. After that comes the first launch and you fly over Ruckberg before entering the LSM boost and going through 2 corkscrews. It is a unique feeling when riding FLY. I rode a bunch of flying coasters, but not one of them had such a real feeling of flying. FLY has near-miss, water, and fog effects, which make the ride even better. Furthermore, you experience strong airtime on a flying coaster, and that's something I've never experienced before. An absolute highlight at Phantasialand, and an awesome feeling to fly through one of the most immersive themed areas. Number 10. Untamed at Walibi, Holland in the Netherlands. The RMC that once was the Woody Robin Hood convinced me directly. Starting with a cool atmosphere in the queue and station, it continues with a really good ride. 57.2 miles per hour, 4 inversions, and 14 airtime moments. Untamed is pleasantly aggressive, and the inversions, double inverting stall, step up underflip, overbank, and barrel roll fit perfectly in the layout full of airtime. Especially the slow barrel roll at the end is a perfect way to end this experience. A successful mixture of airtime and inversions. Number 9. Taron at Phantasialand in Germany. This LSM launch coaster was the first attraction where I followed the construction and got interested in the technology and everything else. Taron has 2 LSM launches, the first one at the beginning and the second one as a boost, and this boost is my favorite part. But also the rest is not boring at all. You ride through a beautifully themed village with a lot of near-miss effects, whippy turns, and airtime. For me, all this makes Taron the best roller coaster in Germany. Number 8. Twisted Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain in California. This coaster was the first iBox track I rode. Until 2014, it was the dueling Woody Colossus, which then got converted to an RMC and reopened in 2015 as Twisted Colossus. Colossus was a dueling Woody, so you might also duel on Twisted Colossus. However, this doesn't happen very often because the trains must be perfectly dispatched. I had 2 out of 4 dueling rides, and there are some cool spots where the 2 sides interact with each other. The concept is that you have 2 tracks, but they are closed, so it's actually 1 track. It's hard to explain. You go up the first lift hill and pass through the first part of the track before going up the second lift hill and passing through the second part. That's why it is so hard to get a dueling ride, because both trains have to reach the lift hill at almost the same time. When the ride-ups pay attention, you can experience the high 5 element, 0G roll, and Top Gun stall as a dueling moment. In addition, you also experience a good portion of airtime. In my opinion, it is a really nice concept and so much fun, especially in the dueling mode. Number 7. Skyrush at Hersheypark in Pennsylvania. Skyrush is known for one of the best drops on a roller coaster. The Intamin wing coaster has a 200 feet high and super fast cable lift and then follows the 85-degree drop. The first half of the drop feels like a regular, good drop, but it changes on the second half, and especially in the back row, you have brutal ejector airtime and get pulled to the ground. It feels like you're just about to hit the ground at full force. I had some rides with a little space in my restraint and held on with my legs under the seat because I had the feeling that otherwise I would fly out of the train. An unique drop, but also the rest of the layout is great. 5 airtime hills with good airtime, some bank curves, and a Stängel dive are passed at a top speed of 75 miles per hour. A super intense coaster that is absolutely amazing. Number 6. Velocicoaster at Universal Islands of Adventure in Orlando, Florida. This Jurassic World themed coaster is a real masterpiece. It all starts with an immersive queue line where you can find Claire Deering, velociraptors, and other surprises. After stowing the luggage in a really good system, you take a seat in a very cool design 24-person train. The first launch accelerates you from 0 to 50 miles per hour in 2 seconds, and you dive into a landscape of rocks and plants. In this rather narrow first part of the layout, you can expect an Immelman, dive loop, a couple airtime hills, and overbank turns. The second launch accelerates you to 70 miles per hour and brings you to the second part of the coaster. This part of the layout is rather spread out and starts with the 155 feet top head, which especially in the back row pulls you down strongly. A 100 feet long 0G stall follows, and then a wave turn, outward banked hill, and overbanked turn, and all that pretty close to the water. The last element, which is known as a barrel roll or also known as Mosasaurus roll, is a perfect way to end this adventure. You're upside down facing the water for a moment and experience a very intense inversion. With its layout, location, and theming, Velocicoaster is a masterpiece and can convince with perfect appearance. Number 5. Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point, Ohio. I think that this RMC is a top bucket list coaster for many enthusiasts. The wooden coaster formerly known as Mean Streak was rebuilt by RMC and reopened as Steel Vengeance in 2018. Let's talk about the facts. 5,740 feet long, 205 feet high, 74 miles per hour fast, a 200 feet high and 90-degree steep drop, and 4 inversions. It starts with a 180-degree turn out of the station and 2 weak bunny hops that take you to the lift hill. A chain lift takes you up the lift hill from where you have a nice view over Lake Erie and the rest of the park. But before you can really enjoy the view, you get pulled towards the ground with long-lasting airtime and a top speed of 74 miles per hour. The ride continues with airtime on a small speed bump and a big airtime hill that ejects you out of your seat. Next, you go over the outward banked airtime hill, which is really whippy and ejects you out of your seat again. A double up brings you to the first inversion, a 0G roll, followed by an overbanked curve and a 0G stall. The stall is kinda whippy because it's passed quite quickly. After a double down and a double up, you reach the mid-course brake run that slows you down a bit and weakens the second part of Steel Vengeance. It starts with some airtime, which because of the mid-course brake run is okay, but you would expect more from RMC, and I hope at one point I can ride it trimless. The ride continues with an overbanked turn and another 0G roll while being in this massive wooden structure. Then you go over to bunny hills, an overbanked, and the last 0G roll. Another overbanked curve brings you to the finale consisting of some bunny hops. Steel Vengeance has a good combination of short and long-lasting airtime moments and inversions. It definitely is an amazing coaster, but for me it's a little too monotonous to make it further up in my ranking. Number 4. Intimidator 305 at Kings Dominion in Virginia. This coaster literally blew me away. It's an Intamed giga coaster with convincing facts. 5,100 feet long, 90 miles per hour top speed, 305 feet high, and a 3-minute experience. The 300 feet and 85-degree steep drop ends in a tight 270-degree turn very close to the ground, and then you go up in a big 151 feet airtime hill. On my first ride in the morning, without breakfast, I totally blacked out from the entry into the 270-degree turn to the middle of the airtime hill. More high-speed curves, airtime hills, and absolute sick turns like I have never experienced before follow. These turns pull you from one side to the other in a very aggressive way. In general, this coaster is super aggressive and above all intense, if not the most intense coaster in the world. Intimidator just wants to throw you off and is just absolutely amazing. Number 3. The Ride to Happiness at Plopsaland de Panne, Belgium. This Tomorrowland-themed Muck Rides Extreme Spinning Coaster was my 300th credit and is an absolute highlight in Europe. Queue and station look quite nice and the location, mostly over water, is really nice too. Even though I expected a little more from a Tomorrowland-themed area and coaster, but the soundtrack is amazing. The ride begins with a hardline roll in the pre-launch section, right out of the station into the first inversion. The train comes to a short stop on the launch track before launching from 0 to 56 miles per hour, and while launching you start spinning. You go up the 108 feet top head and an outward bank turn before dropping towards the water. This is followed by a combination of 3 inversions in form of banana roll, looping, and 0G roll. A twisted airtime hill brings you to the second launch, including a small airtime pop. The second part of the layout starts with RCDB calls it a step-up underflip and Muck calls it a double inverting dive loop. It doesn't matter how you call it, but it's a really cool element, and because of the spinning cars you totally lose your orientation. Then there is another big airtime hill, a dive turn, and finally 2 very strong camelbacks with outstanding ejector airtime. What an amazing coaster with a great layout, plus every ride is different due to the free spinning cars. Absolutely outstanding. Number 2. El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure, New Jersey. My biggest love in terms of roller coaster and also an insanely good Woody, probably the best in the world. Responsible for that is Intamin, but also Werner Stengel, the designer. 4,400 feet long, 181 feet high with a drop of 176 feet, 76-degree vertical angle, 70 miles per hour fast, and a duration of 1 minute and 42 seconds. You leave the station and make a left turn before going up the massive lift hill. At the top of the lift, you can enjoy a wonderful view over the whole park during a slow 180-degree turn. One evening, we had a night ride and there were fireworks all around us. It was just magical. Then, my absolute favorite drop follows. I always had a little space in my restraint and sometimes minimum verify rides. And well, it always felt like I'm flying out of the train. It's just such a unique drop. On this drop, I always had the feeling of freedom and happiness, and after my first ride, I was absolutely speechless and overwhelmed. After the drop, you go over 2 airtime hills, which are 112 feet and 100 feet high and have really strong airtime, followed by a turnaround element with banked curves as entry and exit. Next, there is another airtime hill into a banked left turn and to my second favorite element on Toro, which is the Rolling Thunder Hill. It got its name from going over a piece of track from the former dueling Woody Rolling Thunder. Anyways, you experience brutal and aggressive ejector airtime on this hill. After that, you pass the intense and whippy twister section, which is a perfect finale for this wooden monster. I rode it 153 times and it just never gets boring. I never thought that I could love a roller coaster that much, but I had the best time of my life with wonderful people in the park and especially on El Toro. We had rain and hail rides on our dress-up day with high heels and fancy clothes, night rides with fireworks, the first ride of the season after Toro was closed for a while, and much more. So many wonderful memories on a brilliant coaster. Number 1. Iron Gwazi at Busch Gardens, Tampa in Florida. An extreme and incredibly good roller coaster, and for me, currently the best coaster I have ever ridden. This is probably due to the aggressive and intense layout, and it starts with a little dip to the lift hill, which brings you up 206 feet. The drop has a 91-degree angle and is exactly as high as the whole coaster. Usually the drop is a little shorter. You drop through part of the structure while having really good airtime and ending the drop pretty close to the ground. With a top speed of 76 miles per hour, you go up in an outward bank left turn with a lot of whip. After that, you get really close to the ground again, and then one of my favorite moments follow, the barrel roll down drop, or also known as death roll. The ride continues with an overbank curve and a wave turn. You experience brutal sideways ejector airtime that makes you fly out of your seat. Definitely my highlight on this coaster. It goes on with more ejector airtime, an overbank turn, and a 0G stall, which is a little short but still really good and fun. The finale consists of more amazing airtime. We were really lucky that we were able to ride Iron Gwazi because it was indicated as down exactly on the 2 days we were there. But on the second day, Gwazi luckily opened. We rode it 5 times with 3 minimum verify rides and it was insane. In general, Iron Gwazi offers a lot. Pacing, inversions, a great job, a lot of airtime, whip, and perfect aggressiveness. An excellent coaster and my number 1. So, that was my top 25 ranking. I hope you enjoyed it and had a lot of fun watching it. I am really excited for the new season 2023. There's a lot planned. So, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm gonna see you probably out of the next vlog. Goodbye!